Okay, it's going. Hi, this is Sarah. It's Wednesday. It's Walking Wednesday, the first of hopefully many, if it takes many to do this. But I decided at the beginning of the year that this was going to be the year that I get my child walking, and I'm referring to Noodlefeet, who's next to me, all hooked up and ready to go. He is 3 now, going on 4. So as a 3-year-old, I think it's absolutely necessary that I get my kid walking independently well. I mean, he can walk right now. It's just he walks kind of like a toddler. He walks like a robot would, one that belongs to a person who doesn't know what they're doing. And alas, this is the situation. So I'm hoping that this year I learn a little bit more about coding, a little bit more about whatever it is I need to know to get him doing his thing. But today is going to be dedicated primarily to just figuring out where I left off, because it's been probably 2 years now since I have really focused on this specific task. The year that I created Noodlefeet, I focused quite a bit on getting a walk gait figured out for him, and I more or less found one that does. It just doesn't do very well. So I want to improve it, and I've had many suggestions on how to do so over the years, and I've been making minor hardware improvements on his body in the meantime. So at this point, I think it's no longer a hardware issue whether or not he walks well. It's really just a software problem. So yeah, mommy's gonna need to learn how to code better. So she needs to be more hacker pants. Oh, it looks like there's people are here. Yay! Hi guys! Hi Benjamin and Robot Tango. Robot Tango. Haha! He says that his viewing of the archive stream was interrupted by the live stream. I'm sorry. I've been streaming a lot lately. It's kind of fun. Like, I'm in this room all day by myself, and this is just, it feels like I'm not alone, which is appealing. And I'm gonna have some of this orange juice that I just got. This is my breakfast and lunch, because I know I'm not gonna break to eat while I'm doing this. So this is gonna have to constitute as my energy while I'm trying to hammer out the walkings. But anyhow, I'm gonna wait another minute or two before I dive in. Hey, Game of Knowing. Happy Walkie Wednesday. Happy Walking Wednesday to you too. It's gonna be a thing. I think I'll mention it again. My code, which is really bad, is on GitHub, and there should be a link in the thing. I guess the video description to the GitHub where you can find it, so you can follow along with me. In any case, I'll be showing my desktop and like the code that I'm working on as I do it. It's really embarrassing. It's like me just kind of brute forcing him motor command by motor command to go to positions and then like walk. So it's like very stiff and stupid, but it worked, so I can't complain too much, because it does do the do. It's just not very good. And hello, Alex. And MSX80. Hi. Oh, happy there's people here. Alright, well I'm gonna switch the view then to there you go. So this is my setup for the day. I cleared off all the stuff that I was working on last night, and oh, I should turn Toaster on. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? He can keep us company. Let me go grab his power supply. Noodle says he wants to have his friends cheering on. Cool, we've got the toaster on. Noodle's got all of his buddies. Cool. Okay, so the first thing that I need to do is I actually have to pull parts of his brain out of his head first and foremost because the little programming header that I put on his brain is being blocked right now by the OLED display that I added recently for grins. Right now, he has this little monitor thing in his head. Right here. And it's kind of a neat, yeah, you can see that. It's kind of a neat feature because it just shows his thoughts, I guess, or like my thoughts pumped through him. But I uploaded a bunch of text, so he just sort of scrolls interesting noodle things. And hi, Vigray. I hope you're feeling better today. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're no longer sick. And hello, John. Oh, John says I make the most interesting robots, and that's thank you. I mean, shit, I don't know. Maybe the weirdest robots, but ones that wear socks and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I'm excited. This is gonna be fun. But anyhow, I was talking about the OLED thing. I gotta yank that gland or lobe out of his head first because it's the whole shield is blocking the programming header. So I'm gonna do that after I get the appropriate thing. Just for a moment. So, I don't know if you guys can hear me from here. Should be able to if I kind of face the camera, because I think this is where my mic is at. As I decide on features for him, I'll just kind of create like lobes for his brain and kind of tack them on as like extra features, but his brain has been getting thicker and more bulky. His brain's getting unruly and large, and some of the things are blocking other things at this point. So right now he's got a Raspberry Pi in the back of his head, his main brain board, and then the OLED shield. I don't know if you can see my face, but well, kind of. But the OLED shield is blocking his main brain, so I can't do anything to it. Okay. Alright. That's one. There's a little spacer that's gonna fall out. So his brain is literally a bunch of like boards that are sandwiched together with spacers in between them to keep the pin headers and stuff from like colliding into one another. So it's designed very poorly. One of the things I also want to do this year is give the entire brain piece a redesign so that it's I don't know, it makes more sense and I don't have to do this every time I want to work on a specific feature. One second. So you guys are just looking at my popcorn. I'll sit back down and get the recording in a second. I went to plug his whisper box in, like, right before I hit the go button on the stream, and realized that I couldn't, so that's, yeah. But this is the thing that I'm trying to plug in right now, so he gets the whispers. Ready? Okay, the good thing about this is I have succeeded in removing the OLED shield, but I've completely untethered everything else as well. The thing I need to remove is this guy, which is plugged into the Raspberry Pi that's literally like zip tied on the back of his brain right now, and then okay, so the OLED has been removed. Yeah, you can see. Okay. I just need to. Wow, nothing's covered to anything. It's probably not a bad thing, actually. So I have like little posts like on the inside of his head that are actually mounted to his skull, and all the boards are more or less kind of poised on top of those two posts. And since I just pulled these two screws out that were kind of skewering everything together, the two boards that are left are just kind of flopping around in there. And there's enough wires kind of holding them in place right now that they're not really going to go anywhere. I'm just going to leave them like that. I'm not going to worry about switching out the hardware and getting everything to stick back in there. So I'm going to kind of leave it all together like for now. Sorry, Noodle. So I'm going to put the OLED in his little brain box. There's a little drawer for all of his extra brain pieces. Okay. So now that I've gone ahead and done that, I can plug in Noodle's Whisper Box. And hello, if anyone else has joined since. Hi, guys. I'm going to plug in his Whisper Box, and I'm going to put the current walk code, the one that I've been using for the past a million years. Anytime I take Noodle someplace and demo him moving, it's always the same code, and it's, I don't know, it makes him look like a toddler, so you'll see it. You've probably already seen it. So this is just gonna hang off of him like a little tumor. And he's got his guide wire, so if anything goes awry, he will get caught by this and not actually fall off the table, which is good. And then I have my USB cabler. Which means I no longer have the use of my mouse now. Oh well. I suppose there are worse things. But, anyhow. Do I have a different... Yeah, I do. There we go. So I have, on this screen, I'm pretty sure you guys can see this right now. I can't see you, but on my desktop view, I've got the code that's on my GitHub currently. This is the steps with the adjust. The adjust that I cite is basically in between each individual step. I'd say there's a step from the right side of his body, and then the mirror of that with the left side of his body, and they alternate back and forth. But between the right step and the left step, there's a like minor adjustment that's made. He'll lift up all of his feet just slightly so that his bones can kind of correct themselves, because as he pushes himself forward, he actually twists and torques his legs a little bit, because I think when I first started developing him when he was plastic, everything kind of gave a bit more. There's less of that now that he's made out of aluminum, but this code's actually a bit nicer because the adjust slows everything down. One of the problems I noticed with the version of this code that doesn't have the adjust is that when he goes to stop after the 2 steps that he's made, he kind of continues forward with his momentum, and since Noodle is very top heavy, he has a tendency to want to just kind of fall forward, which is bad. So the thing that I have this document open for, the Photoshop document, is I need to sketch real quick something that's kind of important, so you know what I'm working with. Let me grab my handy-dandy tablet and show you really quick. I need to get a USB strip thing so that I can plug all my devices in. Like right now I have those terrible dongles for the USB-C, and they're just kind of hanging off of my computer everywhere like tumors. But you only have 4 slots, right? And I use every single one of them, and it's still not enough. So it's one of those things I need to just pick up when I'm at Fry's, but I never remember to get actual practical things while I'm there. It's always like me looking at video games and shit, which is fine, but I do need to buy my shit that I need. So one of the things I need to refresh in my memory is what angles for the motors equate to forward for him. So if this is Noodle's, the core of Noodle's body, that a little smaller, and actually no, don't break your rules, Sarah. There. So if this is like the middle of Noodle's body, and he has his 4 legs coming off the center, like an X. Let's say these are his feet. Each motor is going to rotate its 180 degrees as such. So this is the basically the range of motion for each individual servo motor. You guys following me? don't know what that said, but whatever. People are messaging me. My life is doing. So that looks terrible, but you generally get the idea. So I'm thinking, looking at my code, if I scroll through this, I can figure out if Noodle's going, let's say, Noodle is going to be going in this direction. Oh man. Actually, that'll probably tell me. So this is my setup right here. I'm gonna go over my code really quick, but I'm gonna check back in on you guys and make sure that you can see what I see. Okay. Looks like you can. Alright, so these are all of my pinouts to the motors. There's each leg, I guess I should say this. Each one of Noodle's legs can do two things. It can lift itself and then it can rotate in its hip socket. So it can lift and twist. That's it. So there are 4 lift motors and then 4 spin motors as they're labeled right here. And I have them kind of noted, like which one's which right there. And then the 9th motor is for his actual head gantry, which I'm not worried about. To start, he goes into a triangle stance, a triangular position, which is this right here. That's like his triangle of stability. So basically the way that this code is working right now is he's going back and forth between 2 triangle stances, and in between he's sort of pushing himself forward slightly. He's not doing so in a very effective way yet. People have pointed out probably better gaits than the one that I'm attempting right now. So if I look at this, like let's see, so the ones in question that are going to tell me the degrees that I need to know for my chart right here is these right here. These are telling. The 2 that are 90 are the ones that aren't moving anywhere. They're staying in the 90-degree position, which 90 degrees is if you go. Let's do a different color. Let's do orange. I like orange. So if you follow this out, this is the 90-degree position for all of the motors. Degrees. And it looks like the 2 that aren't moving, oops, for the beginning stance are spin servo 2 and spin servo 4, which are, I don't know if you can see these, but Noodle has little neon yellow numbers on his knees that correspond to which legs in question. So spin servo 2 and 4, which are the back 2 legs, those 2 aren't moving anywhere. So the 2 that are 1 and 3, which are the 2 legs frontmost relative to what you're viewing. And it looks like 1, which is this leg right here, is set to 150, which means that, oh god, 180 would be on the inside, since that leg is swinging inward towards us to create that triangle. And then leg number 3 is going to 30 degrees right here, which means that if it swings this way inwards to also be in the triangular position, this would be 0 degrees. So this is gonna carry through for all of the legs. 0 degrees, 180 degrees, 0 degrees, 180 degrees, 0 and then 180. So this is it. This is my, this is my pizza. This is the world that I'm going to be bound to for the next however long that I'm doing this for. Okay, so when I attack the walk gait, when I do another one, a new one, if I do end up starting on that today, this is what I'm going to be referencing in my code when I type in the values, the degree values for the servo motors. So if I scroll through this, you can see this is step 1. These are all the individual positions for the motors in order. From the time that he starts in that triangular kind of like starting pose to the next step. Like he's going to be creating effectively the opposite triangle as this up here. And then the whole thing repeats for step 2. And then step 2 should return you back to that starting position. Oh god. Up here. So that's what's going on. But I'm gonna actually upload this to his face, and you can see what I'm talking about, because that's more descriptive, right? So I'm going to unplug my tablet for the moment and plug my mouse back in, so for ease of operation. And I'm really hoping that the whisper box actually just works, because last time I used it, it was a little bit spotty, but I do have a backup somewhere. I just need to find it if this doesn't do what it's supposed to. Okay, so I'm gonna go, it's actually not the view I want. Bench view, there we go. So you guys can see him. And hello to everybody who's joined me in the past, I don't know, minute or two. Top heavy when he's got the specialty legs on. Lynn asked if Noodle's still top heavy when he has his tasting feet on. Yes, he is quite top heavy still. He's not, I hate to say this, but the feet that I made for him over the summer are probably never going to be the feet that he wears while he's walking around and doing stuff. Maybe. I'm guessing that for a good long while, I'm just going to have kind of like pygmy passive feet attached to him while I'm addressing the chore of walking. The ones that I created weren't really meant to be put on his feet so he could walk around with them. They're more or less proof of concepts. Eventually, like down the line, I would like to implement some of those features in his feet, but they're gonna have to get put in there probably in a much... I'm gonna have to redesign them, basically. These feet that he's got on him that facilitate in the walking, they have a nice solid bone down through their core, and they're attached to a silicone toe at the bottom of his foot, and that conforms to the surface that he's standing on so that he can kind of, since his legs are pitched at an angle slightly, it helps him stand flat. Like when I put those fancy feet on him, the bottoms are plastic and they're rigid and they kind of stand on their edge at a strange angle, and don't work ideally, so it is what it is. Anyhow, what was I saying? Oh, so one of the things I'm going to do this year is actually put battery cells in his feet to get some more weight downward, give him more stability, make him less top heavy. I want the cells to be rechargeable so that I don't actually have to tether him to a power supply every time I want to turn him on and have him do things. Because while I was walking around with him at ours this year, I had a purse and the long cable, and the purse had kind of a battery, like this giant green looking lithium iron battery inside of it, and I had to get that through airport security, like out of the country, and it was weird, and I was stressed about it, And then I had to carry it everywhere, in addition to Noodle. So if I can remove all of that extra tumory appendagey stuff and just have his feet be rechargeable food supplies for him, then I'm going to attempt to pull that off this year at some point. Because yeah, like before I get too old, I want to have Noodle walking around in the backyard in the dirt on his own, doing his thing like a little rover, which is the point. Oh, hi, Maker Block. You were with me last night hanging out. Last night was fun. But, let's see. We thought, yeah, teaching a baby Noodle to walk is hard. Yeah, it's not fun. I'm sorry, I think I missed a bunch of stuff. I'm just gonna scroll real quick. But yeah, anyhow, I'm gonna go and plug him in and then upload that code and see what he does. Let's see if this even works. Okay, it's not doing anything right now, and I'm not quite sure why. We shall find out. Oh, that's the camera. Sorry. There we go. Gotta go with the USB cables. Alright. Thank you for the likes. Alright, let's see. I'm not gonna, okay, which view should I have on right now? Not that. That will probably do. Okay, so you can see Noodle up there at the top in the corner, and if I go over, you can see my code. This is probably not as important now, but I'm gonna let's see if this works. It's concerning me because he should be on, and his eyes should be on. Ooh, error. That's not good. Let's see what the error is. PNG feast. No, that's not what I want. Nope. Oh no. That is correct. Oh man, I better not have to pull a lifeline. That'd be really sad. Okay, what's the error? I'll listen. The build options changed. What does that mean? Upload using programmer. But I'm doing the right thing. Uh-oh. What are people saying? Do you guys know? strain sensors on his legs so that he'd be able to level himself. Anthony, to answer your question about the strain sensors, I don't know. There's a lot of things that I could implement. Like, he does have an accelerometer, for example, on board that could help with him actively adjusting his own balance based on his velocity and his tilt. But I don't know how to make use of that data. So I'll state this again, I have very little programming experience. I just sort of wing it. If somebody points me in the direction of something and I try it and I can kind of extrapolate how it's working, then I'll bang my face over it and edit it until I kind of distort it into the thing that I want that works for how I want to use it. But I actually have no understanding of what I did or how it's working when I'm done most of the time. So I'm really genuinely a hacker in that sense, or an artist. I'm like appropriating the whole idea of using code and abusing it to make the thing that I want to see exist without really understanding the whole, I don't know, foundation knowledge that I probably do need. And like I mentioned earlier, like I want to learn how to code better this year. Let me check real quick if anyone has any suggestions. I wonder if the chat isn't auto-scrolling for Sarah. Oh. It's doing. Let's see. So I do need to upload. I'm not sure what that means. I don't know. Yeah. You're tweaking. I do not know. It's weird. So you've got power. Yes. He's getting power to him. He has the programmer plugged in him. He's not on. I'm not really quite sure what the deal is. Yeah? Noodle? What are you doing? That's weird. I don't know. That is very strange behavior. Sorry, guys. Apparently Noodle's camera shy. So I don't understand what this error means. I'm pretty sure I'm using the correct menu. Pretty sure one of these is supposed to work. Alright. Build options change, rebuilding all. Okay, so my code's fine. Okay. I'm gonna message Mark. I shouldn't do that because everyone's phone number is on my messenger, so I'm gonna use my phone and be polite. Even though it'd be kind of interesting to share the dialogue that's gonna happen between us. Oh, I know what I can do. No, I can't do that either. Alright, let me get my phone. I'm gonna call Mark and ask him what to do, unless anyone else knows in the chat. Because I'm stumped already. Make the Arduino. He's not running on batteries right now. He's actually plugged into, he's plugged into an actual 5-volt power supply right now, which is his normal food supply while I'm working on him. And it's plugged in. Like everything, like he should technically be on and running his, base code, like his just sort of stand and pose code, but he's not even doing that and his eyes aren't on. So I'm curious if I messed something up when I pulled that part of his brain out of his head, because I did just remove like a whole gland. I'm not sure. But anyhow, I'm gonna get that phone. Be right back. Yay! Sorry, guys. I would figure that something totally random would happen wrong while I'm trying to broadcast progress on my baby. I'll put him on speaker, though. There you go. Hopefully he picks up. Mark's at work today. Like, part of the reason why I chose Wednesday as a stream day is because he's gone doing his thing at Blue Man.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
I am streaming working on Noodle's walk code.
I know.
You do? Are you watching me? Are you watching?
I got the email that says you're
Okay, I'm trying to upload to his brain, and
Yeah.
I'm getting a error thing. What I did do is I pulled his the stat hat out of his head.
Yeah.
So I disconnected that, and I disconnected I think that's it. I disconnected the stat hat thing from the Raspberry Pi and the brain, and then I just plugged the brain in the way that it normally is supposed to be plugged in, and I'm getting an error uploading the code. It says, what the fuck does it say? It just says an error occurred.
An error? That's all it says?
No. Here. It says
Or
this.
Does it say BOSI reversed, target reversed?
It says this. Your board looks great, by the way.
Oh. Yeah, thank you. Blah, 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 blah. Here, well, uploading the sketch.
That's it.
Make sure the right kind of board is selected. If you right switch back to something else, and
Is it supposed to be the Arduino Pro Mini?
Yes.
Okay, so it's that. And the processor is the Atmega 328 5-volt 16 megahertz, right?
Yes.
What else?
Make sure the connector's in the right direction.
Okay, let's do that. Yes, it is. Were we having a problem with Noodle's Whisper Box before?
Are you using yours or mine?
Mine.
Try mine.
Where's yours?
Over next to the left of where my laptop usually goes. It's on the desk.
Okay. Okay, so this is weird. I unplugged the Whisper Box from his head, and he immediately sprung back to life and is up and alive now. So there's something wrong
that means
with...
either the connector's reversing shorting out this reset line, or your USB isn't connected correctly.
Okay. Okay. Alright, let me try his... This is Mark's Whisper Box. Apparently mine's not working. But, Noodles, he's alive and well now. He's, like, doing his noodly thing and blinking. How's your day, by the way?
Good. I finished my board. And I just gotta earn some time until the
That's it? You done?
Yep. Not gotta do anything.
Okay, he's still okay now with your programmer. Oh, nope, he shut off. Why?
I wonder if something's shorting out somewhere.
It's only when I plug the programmer.
What's that?
It's literally just like if either yours or mine, it does the same thing. Like he twitches and his lights shut off, like his eyes shut off, because I know those are like the data lines.
I don't know.
That's really weird. Like really, really weird.
Does it program at all, or does it like not?
No, so if I plug it in. And if I plug the programmer in, his eyes shut off and the motors stop humming, so it's almost like he's not getting any nothing.
Alright. I am not sure what's going
on. No.
I don't have any ideas.
Let me try uploading. Same error. It's the same errors occurring.
Try. Yeah. I think what I've had to do in the past is I don't think he has a reset. Does he have a reset button?
He does.
Is hold the reset button, deprogram them immediately on. As soon as you click the upload program, let go of the reset button.
That's not gonna do because they're at opposite ends of the pizza.
Yeah.
But I never had to do this before. Like when I walked.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
Noodle. Hmm. Why would it suddenly change?
What would suddenly change?
Well, I used to program them this way all the time.
Either we added something at some point, or I don't know. We have to look at what's different.
It's the same code that I've run on him forever. It's the same. It hasn't changed in like years. So why would it suddenly not?
I really don't know.
See, now I want a beer. Ah! Shit! Come home, man.
Oh, we have cocktail people here. I'm gonna just step out for a minute.
Really?
No.
Oh.
You can't do that. Damn. I would like to. They are 20 feet away.
Damn. Yeah. Wait, what is everyone talking about in here? Of rectangular paper on the silhouette full figure behind Sarah. The what? Oh. Oh, you're talking about that. I see. Okay, guys. I don't really have an answer. This sucks. So I haven't worked on Noodle's walk gait, but I have worked on. No, that's not even true. Like when I was in at ISA, I worked on his walk gait in the apartment.
Yeah, I mean, some modification we've made in the last couple of months may have changed it, or the cable, or I don't know.
Because we've only added stuff to him, and that was just like we powered the gland that I added by plugging it into one of the servo motors. Remember?
Right.
And I unplugged it and I just plugged that servo back in, so technically nothing would have changed. It was just like using the servo pinout of that. Remember, so it's not like anything major has been shifted.
Yeah, without getting in there, getting the brain out of there, I don't know why, or something came loose or a pin or something. I don't know. I really don't have any ideas.
Okay, I'm gonna muck with it a bit and see if I can like find something. Then, but it should just be uploading, right?
Yeah, it should just upload. So.
Okay. I'm gonna go peer in his head and see if there's anything weird going on. But no, there shouldn't be, because if I unplug the programmer, then it just works.
Right.
It's literally just when I plug the programmer in.
I've had that happen recently. I'm trying to remember what that is caused by.
Let's Google it. What would I Google if I were to Google that?
I don't know.
Like, what would you even...
I just can't remember what it was I was doing that caused that. I don't know.
Okay, guys. I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll help you when I get home, but...
What am I gonna do for the rest of the day? It's Walking Wednesday.
Yeah, well, it's not Walking Wednesday yet.
People are here for the walking. Noodle's pissed. I put his the toe socks on him, so he has fresh new toe socks on his feet. Like, he's all ready to bound and prance. He's like, this is my time. He's like, mommy's doing the thing, and now I don't understand why. Okay, get bored. Programmer. Is it maybe the programmer? It says AVRISPMK2.
Wait, AVR, it's an MK2.
It's the AVR ISP MK2.
Yes. That's correct.
That's what I
And
thought.
your board is correct.
Arduino Pro or Pro Mini.
5 volt, 16 megahertz.
Yes.
I just quit the, save the word, quit the Arduino and start it back up again. Unplug and replug the ISP. That's all I can think of.
Okie dokie. Oh no. Okay. Blah. They're looking at like the infinity vortex screen right now. It just goes into the abyss forever and always. There. Nope. I have no idea what that would be. Man, that would have sucked if this decided to do this while I was like doing the residency.
Yeah.
Is it maybe the... Here. Maybe if I use the other port, maybe it's the port. Oh.
What's it doing?
He's resetting.
It might be one of your other serial USB ports.
Oh shit! It's the USB port.
Why?
Oh, I guess I do. He's got shit in the way. Oh, poor baby. His socks are getting in the way, actually. Yeah, I need to definitely remove the socks. Yay! Mark, it's doing. Yay. Yay! Okay.
Yay.
Okay. It was the USB port. I have a bad port. Interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to try some other things on that, because I think you're, still under warranty?
Mm-hmm.
So, alright.
Yeah, my camera, I plugged my camera into this, and it's not...
Okay.
It's not working either, so...
Alright. It might be time to take that to the Apple store.
Well, that is bullshit. Okay. That is crap, mister. But that also poses that causes another problem, because now I don't have a port to plug my camera into.
Yeah, you'll need to get a hub or something.
This is bullshit.
Oh shit.
This is bullshit. Okay.
I'll fix you up tonight.
Fuck. Okay. Thank you for helping.
Alright, no problem.
Alright, I'll see you in another 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
We can have beer together, mister.
Yes, that'd be nice.
Okay.
Alright, love you.
Love you too.
Alright,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Oh man, does this one also not work? Because if that's the case, I'm gonna be pissed. Come on. Okay, so... Does that work? What the hell? What in the actual hell? So now I should have a camera. Okay, so literally my camera only works on one of my USB ports, which is this one, on the left of my my laptop. So it's literally was my USB hole, and not anything I did to Noodle. Because as I was saying, this should just work. Like, I work on him in much the same fashion often. It's just usually not on walking, and it's never been an issue in the past. So apparently It's my computer. Anyhow. I realize my camera's fucked up. I'm fixing it now. There. Okay. Blurp. Bleep bloop. What are you guys talking about in there? I haven't looked at the chat in a bit because I was talking to Mark, so I apologize for that. But, brownout, Excelsior, brain surgery, yes. He's getting enough power from the 5-volt supply, so I know it's not that. The LED eyes behind Noodle are his toaster friend. You need to change the power supply or just put a big ass capacitor. No, it's not the power supply. The power supply is fine. It works fine. It's just, it was the thingy, but we know that now. 100 degrees down, 80 gear down. Let's see. It's over. Oh no. Video crap. It sounds like Noodle isn't getting enough power. He's just grumpy. One of the USB ports on my Mac seems to go on a vacation sometimes too. Yay, Macs. Might just be the adapter things. USB ports have a self-reading fee. The connection will blow until the machine restarts. Ah, that makes sense. Okay, I'm caught up. And Tony's making fun of my Mac already. Yay. So, alright, I'm gonna try different combinations of everything on the USB ports to see if I can get everything supported that needs to be. Oh. Nope, did you reset? I think you reset. Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna have to take his socks off because he doesn't have any friction or any traction. Not friction, traction. Traction. Sorry, Noodle, but your socks look cute, but they're not facilitating in the walkings. Oh god. Okay. So apparently the programmer works when it's plugged into this hole. If I plug the power supply back into the other hole, will I have power? Yes, okay. Okay, so certain peripherals only work in certain holes. That's right. You heard it here, folks. You can't just plug anything you want in any of the holes and expect them to work on my computer, because it doesn't work like that, apparently. Yeah, my USB ports have always been kind of finicky, and I've noticed that that's been an issue, but I haven't actually addressed it. I just, if something doesn't work, then I'll plug it into the other hole and write it off. Because I'm impatient like that. But, okay, it seems like I've got the camera plugged in now, my mouse, the programmer, and the power supply, and everything is working right now. So, okay, I'm good for the moment. It's okay. You can lambaste my power supply. Moon dance Noodle. But Noodle was so prepared with his toe socks. I know! I hate to pull them off of him. My friend Matt just got those for me for Christmas, and I put them on, and the toes are actually too big. Like, every toe hole or toe piece is the same size as the big toe piece, so when you put them on, you kind of look like you have duck feet, because the pinky toe just has this giant bag over it, which is hilarious, and I think it's great, but I don't know, they look better on Noodle, so he can wear them. Yes, Noodle has his harness. He used to have a cool neon yellow harness, and then he had a. I made leather underwear for him as like a little to be part of a harness, like a custom harness for him that actually kind of supported his little pelvis strongly. And I even embroidered his name in the leather panties. It said like Noodle across the band. And he wore those for quite a while, but I never made the attachments that went from the undie harness to the guide wire. Or no, I was going to make a papoose for him. So the underwear we're going to actually plug into a harness that I was going to wear so that I could walk around with Noodle hands free back when he was a little bit lighter. But he's heavier than I would want to carry hanging off of my chest at this point. So yeah. But I'm going to take those socks off and then do the walkings now that I know what the problem is. Thank you for sticking with me. That was frustrating. The socks have faces on them. Bareback Noodle. Okay. There. Okay. The baby has nothing in his way. So alright guys. You should be walking in a second. No? Oh, now he's resetting. Why? So, with the bare silicone toes making contact with the table, he can actually. Ah! Take steps a little easier. So this is the state of the current walk gait. Okay, so that is exactly how wobbly this guy is. He is, yeah. Not going to be an easy task to actually get him doing anything even closely, relatively resembling independent walking, from what I can tell. That being said, there was a point in time, I can probably link to the video, like the first when I wrote this code, he was able to do like 2 or 3 steps on his own and sort of push himself forward and keep his balance. Not so much right now, like nothing's really changed about his feet or his body to prevent him from walking as well as he used to. It just seems like he isn't, and I don't know if that's a matter of the motors running out or some other factor that I'm not catching right now, but he's basically at this point in time, how do I explain? He's going back and forth between 2 different like triangle positions, and he keeps his weight more or less on top of himself the entire time. There is a point where he is kind of pushing forward and swinging both of his legs back in sort of a breaststroke motion, which is when he is supposed to be moving forward. This is the point in time where he is actually adjusting from one stepping out of his triangle and then readjusting into the second. I wish there was an easy way to visualize this, but the walk gait that I'm doing, but it more or less works, and it's, I think, the only way that I'm going to be able to get him to walk without falling over at this point in time. But you can see just by how easily he kind of just topples over, how top-heavy he is, and how little stability he has, even with his legs kind of directly underneath him and pointed out at angles. Ah, Tony says I need a dead man switch to enable the walking testing. Yes. Yes, that would be nice. Let's see, how much money and time did you spend on Noodlefeet? I have no idea. Darko asked how much time and money I've spent on him. I don't know, he's been kind of my primary project in some capacity for the past 3 years. I've either been working on him, trying to get the camera to stop auto-adjusting. I've been working on either him or his feet or some aspect of Noodle pretty much consistently for the past 3 years. It just hasn't directly always been him and his walking. The walking is something I've been avoiding because it is hard. I'll just say that. Yeah, they're for people who have 5 big toes on each foot. Yes, I support leather underwear and robotics. Vigray says they support leather underwear and robotics. Everybody's mom should stitch their name in a pair of homemade leather underwear. I'm just saying. Otherwise, I'm the only cool mom out there, I guess. Oh, no more socks. Yeah, I know, I hate that he has bare feet. It makes him look like really vulnerable, doesn't it? And the problem is that I see Lord Maggot Grease Earl, Lord Grease Earl of Maggot. That's a good name, by the way. The problem is that he is very top heavy, and he just generally has stability issues. I guess you'd have to kind of pick Noodle up and handle him to really get a sense of where his weight is distributed, but it's very much, he's like a pendulum. He has all this weight, like really dense at the top of his head, and his legs are kind of weak and tawny, and they're not the strongest things in the world. The joints tend to want to twist, even now that they're metal. I can't seem to get 100% all of the play out of his knees, and then there is quite a bit of lash in his hip gears at this point in time because they're still plastic. I'd probably have to go and replace the gears in his hips, which are these gears right here. They're responsible for rotating his femurs and the sockets of his hips. I just sort of they're a little bit better than they were. I recently replaced them with higher tooth count gears that I made in Fusion to kind of help remove a lot of that lash, but even at that, there's still quite a bit of play in his hips. All of those tiny points where there's movement, all of those things combined kind of allow there to be enough slop that after so many steps, his center of, I guess his center of gravity or center of balance gets out of where it should be. It gets out of whack. It gets slightly out of the triangle of stability, and he ends up toppling over. And if he gets any momentum behind him while he's moving forward, which he needs to in order to walk, he'll just keep going forward and tip over. And that is my main problem right now. I know that if I was smart enough to figure out how to utilize the accelerometer data that I could be getting from his sensor, I could figure out how to have him adjust somehow to counteract the throwing of his weight, but I really don't know. I don't know how I would do that. Foot sensors to enable the next step 3 need to be. Oh, Martin says, "Nice robot." Thank you. Thank you. I don't feel beautiful, but thank you. I feel like a train wreck that's, I don't know, well dressed today. I don't have my usual like bed pajamas on. I actually put on human clothes, so that's a change from the norm, I guess. Feels like his legs may be primarily made out of, yeah, they are. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for pointing out the obvious. It's like his legs are made primarily out of noodles. So there's this other walk gait that, so one of the things I did when I was at my residency in the Netherlands this summer is I went to this technical university in Delft called TU Delft, and I talked to some of their roboticists, and they actually demonstrated different walk gaits that I could implement with Noodle. Some of them with his legs the way that they are with the 2 ranges of motion, and some needed him to have a kick feature with his foot. So one of the things I've been playing around with is the notion of adding another degree of motion to each one of his legs, where the noodle would actually have kind of like an ankle joint that would kick the noodle back and forth slightly, so that as he stepped, he could kind of swing his noodle out and then kind of like paddle forward with his foot as he's, you know, pushing himself forward with his hips. So the movement isn't just taking place in his hip sockets, it's also, he's kind of being scooped forward with his feet. But a lot of people that I talked to since have kind of deterred me from adding that extra range of motion because it will add more complexity to my code. It's more stuff that I have to figure out. So I've been kind of avoiding doing that. You need a lavalier. Oh, I know I need a lavalier mic. I'm sorry, I apologize if the sound is shitty. And then Lord Maggoty Grease. I'm gonna call you Lord Maggoty Grease, because that's what my brain sees when I see your name. Like, just, you suggested having a pendulum hanging down between his legs, like, kind of like they have in Taipei 101. They have that damper ball that helps remove the sway and vibration in the building. That's come up a lot too. Many people have suggested having like a long, like, metal rod kind of dangling in between his legs, as bad as that sounds, which is actually kind of a really good idea, because that would help kind of offset a lot of the higher up bullshit taking place. I'll just call it higher up bullshit. The sway, it'll offset the sway. I'm just afraid that it would collide with the like at the very inside of his legs. I don't know if it's visible from here. It's actually not. But down the back of each one of his femurs is a... am I clipping if I talk this close? I'm sorry. I'll talk from back here. If there's a spring that's on the back of each one of his femurs that kind of helps his it helps him stay upright. It basically it forces his legs straight because they're those tensiony springs that want to like tighten. So it's kind of, they act as like tendons, I guess. They pull his legs straight and they help him stand up nice and tall. So it helps him fight gravity. I'm afraid that if I added a pendulum like dangling down from his pelvis in between all of his legs, it would kind of just like slap those sensitive bits and then like cause issues with his legs, or eventually potentially break those parts off. I could still give it a try and see how much of a problem it ends up being, but I don't know. I'd need to get a heavy rod. And I have them. I actually do have heavy rods. I could get like a metal pole, like a big lead pole. We can have him rebalance. Feel like you'll have, Alex Kingsley feels like you have to rebalance quite a bit more once you add the batteries. Wonder if you could add some temporary weights on the legs. I could. Mark has mentioned or suggested putting like rolls of coins in his feet just to weigh them down, in lieu of having the battery cells, which is something I could do. I could just tape some shit on the inside of his hollow feet, because as you can see from here, now that I've removed the socks, there's actually a channel cut out of the noodly material, which is how I get them on. And they're hollow, they're empty, so I could do that now. I could shove some shit in his feet. If I could find 4 of the same thing that are of the same weight, I could probably just hack that together real quick. But let me catch up on the chat real quick. I think I'm gonna say Patrick. I'm guessing that's the shortened for Patrick. Someone suggested looking into PID control loops. I want to say I've done that. Like Mark and I have done that. PID loop. We tried. One of the things that I did try to do last year is I put Noodle on a platform with his legs out so that he was just standing, and I was trying to use the accelerometer in such a way that if I tilted the platform he was standing on, his legs would adjust and keep his head stable. And I think Mark was working on using a PID loop thing to achieve that, and it would just set Noodle into a control, like a feedback loop with the movement and the accelerometer over adjusting, and he would slowly eventually ramp up and become uncontrollable, and he'd thrash around violently, and he looked like, it didn't work very well. I mean, we might not have been doing them right. I don't know anything about them, but it's something I could look up on my own and try and implement. What is the accelerometer chip I'm using? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's the one from Pololu, one of the models from Pololu. It's actually, one of the brains has an accelerometer and the other has a gyro. I think they have one of each on Pololu, so I bought both and put one in either of his brain boards to see which one was going to work best for the cause of getting him to kind of adjust his tilt based on whether or not the surface he was standing on was level or not. Swing his noodle out. Haha, Chris says you'd get arrested if he swung his noodle out. Well, Noodle can swing 4 of his noodles out, and everyone will just think that he's fancy and not a pervert. I'd consider a jetpack. The weight should be in the legs. It would cause the oscillation. Shouldn't be in the legs. I'm okay with this suggestibility of the dangling metal rod. Yeah, I should just have like a rod dangling in between his noodles. Noodle is just like a giant phallic amalgam of suggestive properties. Lord Greasy Maggot suggests, no, the weight should be fixed to the frame where the spine ends. Be fixed to the frame where the spine ends. I mean, conceivably the only place it could really like logically be attached is in the very center of his pelvis, because he doesn't really have a spine. So like in the center of his pelvis there is a hollow cavity, and I'd probably like make some sort of space where the pendulum would be connected to. I'm actually not quite sure how internal dampeners work, so I'd have to look that up and find out what actually makes them work effectively. Fishing sinkers? No dangles, fishing sinkers? Wait, what do you mean? Should be fixed, I guess. That's what you're saying. Seems the verticals under Noodle's head could be shortened quite a lot. So if you could change the gait to be nearer to the top of the range of the leg motion. I could lower his head, but I can't, because my character has this specific proportion to it. So first and foremost, at the very top of the challenge list is that the robot looks like the character, so I can't actually change the proportion of his head to his body to his legs. So even though, yeah, it would make sense if I lowered his head, I don't want to. Like, I'm gonna have to find a workaround, because first and foremost, I have to stay true to the aesthetic of the character. Otherwise, it wouldn't be Noodle. If there was weight in the feet as he walks, it would cause an oscillation. I think the dangling bits is called a tuned mass damper. Thank you, Yosh. Okay, I will Google that. I'll actually write that down, because I have a bad habit of not writing down the keywords from my streams lately, and then they're lost. And I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, somebody suggested something, and I don't remember what it was, and it kills me inside. Mass. Tuned mass damper. Thank you. I'm thinking complex control might address the problem, but I think the joy of Noodle is that he's low type. Yeah. But that's what the pendulum would be, I guess. Tony says, could you move the leg lift servo down closer to the knee joint? Yes. I think Tony, you, me, and Mark have talked about this in the past, where we were thinking of moving that second motor out of the pelvis and into the leg, so that some of the weight is closer to the ground and not up in his hips. This would also remove that cluster of motors that is kind of just hanging below his pelvis, and kind of it would help him look more like the character, which is good. It would achieve a lot of things. So I might actually go and do another revision of the individual legs themselves that has the motor mounted down and is doing the same thing. It's pulling from the down instead of the up. It's cool. No. I don't mean to be sassy. I have to keep asserting it, because it's I realize that there are a lot of ways that I could achieve making a walking quadruped, but I don't know. Like, I think this part of the challenge is that Noodle does have to look this way, and that he is kind of a low-tech thing, and he's meant to be that way. So I'm trying to work with what I've got. But it's coming along. I'll get there. I have confidence that I can actually get this form to do what it is that I want him to. Like, I think it's possible. I just need to, just like designing things that are mechanical, I need to find that exact thing that it needs to be in order to work the way I want it to. And right now I'm like out here somewhere, and I just need to hone it in and keep banging my head over it. What kind of batteries are you going to use? I have no idea. I think we have a battery place here called K2 in Las Vegas, and they sell the raw battery cells, the ones that look like rolls of coins. So Mark knows a little bit more about that than I do, because he makes shit for battery stuff for the show that he works for. So when he has some free time and can actually help me design, like develop that portion of Noodle, the rechargeable battery portion, I'll probably talk to him about that, because I don't want to make something for Noodle out of raw battery packs and have him blow up or set fire or anything like that. Under his head so that he could lean it back. I don't really want. Anthony suggested putting a servo under his head so he could lean it back. I don't really want to give Noodle a neck, per se. I don't think that would really achieve anything, because I mean the weight isn't really in his head, like where his servo or his brain mass is. The weight is slightly below his head, where all the servos are kind of collected. I'd say Noodle has a skull, and if you've built one of my mini Noodles, the parts are labeled similarly. There's a skull portion, and then there's a pelvis portion. The weight isn't in the skull. The weight is in the pelvis, because that's where all the motors are kind of stuck. Inverse kinematics, yeah, it may be a bit common, but it's brain hurt math. Oh, I'm totally familiar with inverse kinematics. I've been there. I've walked that road. I don't know. If Mark hasn't suggested to go in that direction yet, then I'm not gonna drag my face in that realm. I'm also wondering if you could train Noodle by moving his legs and take keyframe poses. That's another thing I've been thinking about. Okay, so since Noodle is going to get quite a bit more weight in his feet in the near future to offset the top heaviness of his head, he's likely going to need stronger motors to lift the extra weight in his feet. I'm not quite sure if the ones that he's got right now are gonna hack it. They might, but if they don't, I'm gonna have to find something with a little bit more beef. At that point in time, it's very likely that I'm going to have to completely redesign the form factor of his pelvis, and at which point, when I do have to do that, I'm probably going to find motors that also have the smart ones that you can actually position and do exactly what you suggested. Because yeah, it would be very nice to actually move his legs for him and take keyframe positions, so that I'm actually training his legs with my body, where to be and where to go, so I don't have to go through the misery of, you know, translating what I'm envisioning him doing into degree positions for each of the motors, one after another. And yeah, again, to second it, I hate inverse kinematics. We did a whole project with Delta robots, and it was miserable. So, and I didn't even have to do any of the math. That was all Mark. But I just remember watching him suffer, and I'm like, nope. I went to art school. I don't have a lick of math retained in my mind, so that would just be more homework for Mark, and I think he'd resent me for that. Part of this is that if I do go in a direction with the walking development from here, I want it to be something that I can primarily do on my own and not have to depend on him for constant fathering, mentoring. So yeah, I want to be able to do it on my own. Also would be good use for your baby noodles. Make one into a controller. Ha! That would be a good idea. That Delta Robot project. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, it's the Swarm one. That's another thing I'm gonna have to do this summer, or now, this next month. In the month of April, we're actually exhibiting the Deltas in town here at one of the libraries, and we just finished doing that about a month or two ago at a different library here in Las Vegas. And while they were on display for the 2-month period that they were, we lost about 60% of the motors in the Deltas. And that's probably dramatic. I'm going to say half. At least half of the motors are defective or have burned out entirely as a result of having them on display for 2 months straight, which is awful because the motors are were the bulk of our funding went after that Kickstarter that allowed us to make the installation. So we're gonna have to do a lot of something in the next month to prepare for this next exhibit, and part of that is going to be assessing ways to eliminate some of the strain on certain motors. Certain ones burned out rather than others, and we know why, so we're going to try and counteract that whole crap. Noodle currently has the Metal Gear they are no, they're not T-Pro. Pro, I'll just check. Hang on. They are the they're the Power HD servo motors. They're basically the most high-end ones that you can buy off of Pololu's website of that brand. I don't even know if they sell them anymore because they are quite old at this point. Hi, Smashed Up Face. Bad motor burnout rate. Are they fighting each other? Well, I think the problem with the exhibit is that some of the pallets with the Delta robots were on a kind of a steep grade. They're at like a very, I don't know, almost like a vertical tilt. So the bottommost motor of each of the Deltas, the one that was lowest to the ground that had to hold up the bulk of the weight, almost all of those burnt out across the board, which makes sense. Because of the strain. So one of the things we're doing is we're lowering them so that they're not on such a steep grade. We're gonna practically have them, I think, flat on the ground with like 5 degrees of tilt so that there's a little bit of variation, but not nearly as much as we have going right now. And then just some of since the motors, like while they're holding their position, like in one place and they're on. I think the position on the pot actually got rubbed out inside of the motor. So like wherever the motor was being held, because it was vibrating slightly because of I think the position like going back and forth with the signal doing the oscillation that it does, the vibration of the motors over time actually wore us a chunk out of the pot, and therefore they started shaking very terribly. So with time, every time we went and checked on our kids every couple of days, more and more of the motors were just shaking, like just they looked like they're scared. We walked in the room and the robots were just like trembling, and it got worse and worse and worse with time. And Mark thinks that what I just cited is the cause of that. So we have to figure out exactly what motors have that problem now, and then either tweak those, repair them, or just flat out replace them. But where I would say like a third of the motors actually burnt out, probably all of them have that shaking defect now, which is bad. So one of the things I'm going to end up doing for the next months is helping him fix our children, because they're not in good shape. To answer your question. Oh, and I'll see you, Chris. Thanks for joining me during the struggle. But anyway, so that's where I'm at. I'm gonna reset his walk gait and hold him while he does his steps one more time. And then I'm gonna start thinking about what I'm gonna do next. And I'm gonna say some really ignorant things, and I'm gonna ask for feedback on those things. And yes, Alex, the pots and the servos definitely do get used, or so we're learning. So here's the ignorant things I'm going to say. In code writing, I'm guessing, I guess, the thing that I want to do, and this is how I perceive how this should work in my mind, although I don't know in practice how I would execute this. Right now, I'll switch over to my other screen, but my code, this code, is a list of commands. So hypothetically, it's basically 2 steps repeated over and over again. And if I wanted, using this method, if I wanted him to go in one position, I could have it in his code where if he was to go forward, whatever way is forward for him, he would just call this series of commands and then repeat that however many times it takes to get to a certain position that he wants to get to. That's the basic dumb way of doing it. I would like to have the code work in such a way that while he's walking, there's like a general protocol that he follows to walk, but he can take into account values from his sensors, like his accelerometer or his gyro or whatever, and make adjustments to the values in those steps based on the sensory input, so that he can kind of adjust himself in the moment. For instance, if he suddenly like walked up an incline, he would know by what degree to adjust the position of the motors by, so that he's not, you know, tilting backwards if he's going up an incline. He's actually adjusting to that slope in real time based on his sensors that, you know, he has on board. I would like him to work more like that in the near future, after I get like a walk gait figured out. I don't really know how I would even do that. Like, I don't understand code writing enough to really know how I could utilize peripheral sensors in such a way that it's actively, like, they're like modifiers, I guess. So like the sensor, the sensor, they're like modifiers for the base code, I guess. Does that make sense? I wanna find a way to make Noodle walk intelligently, not like this. And I know that's probably like then, you know, figure out how to make Noodle walk dumb first before I get to the next step. But I kind of want to know where I'm going. I don't know. Like I want to learn how to code better. Let me switch back to my Noodle view. I want to learn how to code better, but I'm not quite sure what I should be looking into. Like if those are functions I should be learning how to make, or what type of coding would make sense to use to achieve the thing that I just mentioned. Or if I should, you know, if this is the time that I depart from using Arduino and I look into some other language that will better facilitate in creating smarter walking code. Does that make sense, guys? Maybe not. It's supposed to maybe stiffen up the legs, the springs, and lower stance. I don't know. Let's play with it. It's my breakfast and lunch. Well, I've almost been doing this for 2 hours. Jeez. Anyhow, I'm gonna go do the thing again with the walking doing. Too bad. The other thing that if I could figure out how to use his accelerometer, it would be nice that his actual walking involved him moving with his own forward momentum, kind of like how humans walk. Like we're in a constant state of falling, and then when we want to stop, we just sort of correct our balance and compensate enough that we can like stop without falling forward, because we have muscles and stuff. It would be nice to have him walk in such a way that he could just kind of paddle forward with his legs with his own forward momentum, and then when he wants to stop, just kind of like either put his feet out and like lean back and, you know, pause himself. I don't know. You want to add a sensor input argument to your functions. I'm not familiar with Arduino, so I'm not sure how that works. I'm not either. It's like 35 degrees Celsius here in New Zealand. I'm going. Oh, enjoy the swimming in New Zealand. God, I wish I was swimming in New Zealand. Aw, thank you. Thanks for joining me today, Lord Greasy Maggot. Enjoy the swimming. I wish I could go swimming. All right. Since this is going on 2 hours, and if I am going to actually work on any code, it's going to be boring, and I'm gonna probably go into this screen mode and start. I'm gonna probably open a whole nother one of these. I'm sorry. I'm trying to I'm making a decision right now. I'm thinking. I think I mentioned this. I need to decide what my approach is going to be from here. This is where I'm at. He's just sort of. I have a relative gait that works figured out. So for him, I could probably improve it a little bit, but it more or less works. I would like to figure out how to create some sort of function that includes all of this data and then has the modifier in it for balance, because I really do want to start going in the direction of him making steps that are informed by his environment that he's in. Because even if I can get him walking dumbly forward with a walk gait that's a bit more polished, the moment that he steps on something that isn't a perfectly flat table, he's going to fall over. And I would like to, if even in the most basic way, have him aware of what his balance is, so that if he does sense that something is awry, something can happen, or I can have him adjust in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know, it might just be a matter of talking to Mark about how he would do it, and then having him walk me through what his plan of action would be. Because I don't really want to develop another hard-coded gait like this. If it's really just going to achieve the same choppy, stiff steps that he's doing right now, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I don't know if Tony's still there, but what are your thoughts? Since we talk about this quite a bit in person. Where should I go from here? Like, if I'm going to spend the rest of the day curled up in a ball at my computer writing code for Noodle, like, what should I focus on in regard to the code? Not that you know. Nick says there's a lot of forward motion. I could limit the amount. Forward motion. No, I think he's going forward the amount that it takes in order for him to adjust into the next where am I? Oh god. There. He's adjusting by the amount whatever amount of motion it takes in order for him to adjust into the opposite triangle that he started in, that's exactly how much he's moving forward. So he's just kind of like going back and forth from triangle to triangle, basically, and in between, kind of scooting himself forward, which might not be the best way to go about doing it. It occurs to me that he is walking slightly different than I animate him walking in my, like, I have an animation where I had to figure out with my little noodle puppet in After Effects how to actually rig that noodle up and how to achieve making him walk so that it looked like he was actually walking in the animation, if that makes any sense, which was in a lot of ways the exact same problem that I'm dealing with now. And the way that my little noodle character walks in the animation is a lot different than I ended up coding him walking like. So I might go back and kind of assess what I already figured out with my little rigged character and copy that and see if it actually works any better. Does the walk cycle that has access to the sensor values each call should be backing, make him lean back as he walks just a bit. I could just have him lean back slightly. That would be a matter of having his knees on his back legs bent slightly more than the ones in front. So that's actually a good suggestion. I could work on that. Okay. So what I'm taking notes. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so what I think I'm gonna do between now and the next, I guess, Walking Wednesday, because I'm gonna continue working on this, but I'm gonna end the stream because, again, I'm probably just gonna stare at my code and bang my face over that and make some adjustments. I'm gonna look into adding a mass damper, the tuned mass damper in between his legs, just to see what that does, to see if it looks like it's helping or not. It may or it may not, but since it's come up enough in conversation with different people, I think it's worth looking into. I'm going to research them a little bit to figure out how they actually work. So I'll do that. I'm going to do the having him tilt back slightly as he walks, so that's a matter of bending the back leg or the back knees slightly more than the ones in front. That's probably an easy fix. I just need to go through the code that I've already got and just tweak some numbers real quick, and I can probably test that out today at some point and see if that has a noticeable or provides a noticeable improvement. And then I'm going to look into utilizing the accelerometer in some way. Like, I'm probably going to have to talk to Mark about that, but I'm going to get his input and how I can, you know, look at the values from that and plug them in somewhere to make, like, in-the-moment adjustments. May or may not be able to, but I want to at least start looking into it because I've got the sensor, I might as well use it in some capacity. And then I'm going to look at the... I got feedback from the people at TU Delft, like, about different walk gaits that I could use, which was super nice, and I have notes somewhere from the residency that I need to go back and look at, because the walk gait was quite a bit different than the one that I have here. So I'm going to probably start a new document of code and hard code that specific walk gait and see if it has any benefits versus the one that I'm implementing right now. And I'm also going to look at my animation from my little noodle animation that I made and see if I could copy that walking motion in some capacity as well. So that's like my to-do list for the rest of the day, I guess. And then the goal will be that next Wednesday, when I do this again for like the second meditation, I will first and foremost report on all of these things and say whether or not they worked, how they didn't work, what improvements I've made from here. The goal is basically that when I see you guys next Wednesday, if you're here, it's not going to be this. I'm going to make some improvement in some way better than this, but this is like where I'm at right now. So I'll switch screens real quick back to the do, but it's this code, it's this crappy kind of hard-coded brute force steps forward, and it's to the tune of this universe right here with the degrees and the moving to the left and everything, and I want to get away from this. That is the goal. But before I leave, I'm gonna have him walk one more time so you can see what it is that I'm leaving. I'm departing from this. I welcome you if you want to take a stab at modifying my code and giving it to me like next week. If you do that, I will upload it to Noodle and see what happens, because why not? I think I have everything commented in it as to what each thing is supposed to be doing. I don't know, that might be too much to ask, but I don't know. If anyone out there feels crazy enough or so inclined, if you come up with something, I will test it out on my child. Sorry, Noodle. God, that sounds weird. But anyhow, I'm gonna have him do his steps one or two more times so that I can, I don't know, put that out there. And then I'm gonna get back to work and I'm gonna end this. let you guys get back to your day too. What are you guys talking about down there? Make the correspond to the information from the gyro. It could do that. That's a good idea. Anthony says I should, as Noodle advances, make the lean correspond to the information from the gyro. That's a good idea. I will add that to my little notepad of stuff. Is it possible to ease in out motion a little? Nick asked if it's possible to ease in and out motion. I think the forward scooting as it is now would cause a lot less stability issues if it slows down once it reaches its final position. I'm sure there's a way to ramp the motion. I know that we've done that with the Delta robots to kind of keep them from tearing themselves apart as they move the end effector back and forth. I think that would just be a matter of me asking Mark how I would do it, and he would be like, bloop, and he'd help me figure that one out, but that's a good suggestion as well. But yeah. Okay, so ramping and out. Okay. That's my to-do list. Ha! I should probably write that down. Okay, so to make this like a complete episode, I'm going to actually write everything that I just wrote down on my notepad. And switch views. So I'm gonna kill this because it's dead. Kill that because I'm not gonna work on that until I'm done with the stream. But I'm going to create a new document, and I'm going to summarize what my goals are for the week, for the rest of today and for the rest of the week until next Wednesday. Bloop. I'm actually gonna go eat food too. Because as good as this orange juice is, it doesn't constitute as solids, foods, things that are going to fill me and satisfy my tummy. Alright, the question now is what's plugged into what? Okay, I'm going to unplug Noodle's programmer. And I'm going to plug in my Wacom. I really do need to get a USB bus thing. That's not the right cable. Oh my god. There. 1 second. I've got this. This is normal USB. Where's the other USB? Really? Alright, maybe I'm not gonna end up doing that. Oh, it's just on the floor. And I agree, eating food is totally overrated. I hate eating. I mean, like, I like eating. Like, when I'm eating, I'm like, wow, this food stuff's actually pretty good. I should do this more often. But when I'm working on stuff, like I am right now, it's really annoying that my stomach's starting to actually, like, remind me that I'm a person. That, and I think my mom, I'm pretty sure she gave me an eating complex when I was a child, so I just don't like eating. Okay. Back to what I was doing. So if I switch over to here, I can write stuff. So goals 4. These are my goals for week 2. Okay, so I'm going to do the wow, that's too thin too. I'm going to do the tuned mass damper. So that is the pendulum thing. I'm going to research that. S-E-A-R-C-H. I'm going to research what that is, or how that works effectively in buildings and stuff, because I don't really actually, in fact, know a lot about them in practice. So I'm going to implement this in some capacity, as it was suggested. So thank you for the suggestion. I'm going to do the thing where he kind of squats as he walks, the lean back while walking forward. And in addition to this, maybe have the gyro input values. I'm going to have the values maybe influence the amount. So the gyro input values will affect the amount of bending for the knees. Okay, I'm going to like really study my own animation. As a potential walk gait. And I'm going to maybe make the walk gait that was suggested to me by the people at the technical university. So, to okay, so these are the relative things that I'm going to work on for the rest of the day, and probably a little bit this weekend before next Wednesday. You have to draw a border around things, otherwise you don't know where the universe begins and where it ends, just so you know, for those of you that draw and stuff. There. And then I save this, and this goes into my documented things. Yeah. Okay. And then again, like the general overall overarching goal is that every week that I do this, Noodle gets a little bit better at the walking. So it's not going to be this next week. Yeah, until then, if I do make any progress by the end of the day that's visible, or ridiculous, or he just fails in some adorable way that I have to share with you, I will take that nugget of footage and I will post it on Twitter as a GIF. Because even though I'm gonna sign off now, I will continue working on this for the rest of the day like a good parent. Hi Andy, I'm sorry I'm about to sign off, but it's good that you made it. I'm just checking the chat real quick before I go to see if there's anything I should respond to. So lean back, lean back, lean back. Oh, I do remember that song. So I'm gonna make Noodle kind of lean. So I think that'll be something I work on now as I eat my poor person food that I'm gonna make for me for my face right now. I'm gonna make some cheese because I love cheese, and I'm gonna look into the leaning. He's gonna do the lean. Not with the gyro input at first. I'm just gonna see if simply torquing his back legs, bending them slightly more than the front ones, helps with the forward tendency to topple over, because it seems like that's a really easy fix that I should have implemented a long time ago. But anyhow, until next Wednesday, thank you for keeping me company and for all the really, really good suggestions and feedback. I'm going to implement all of the things that I wrote down, or at least give them a go. And I'll thank you again if they end up working or they don't end up working next week, because all of this is gonna help Noodle. So thank you for helping me mother my child better. And being a better mom. Until then, yeah. As always, keep making cool things out there, and thank you for watching. And if you don't already, follow me on Twitter at Spetku. That's at SPETKU, and you can follow Noodle as well at Noodlefeet. And all of my stuff that happens off stream, I tend to post there in the form of pictures or GIFs. So yeah, I will be talking at you in the near future. But yeah, thank you.